going on, everybody? Welcome to the latest episode of The Game Plan. This is the show for each and every one of you fantasy managers tuning in. I'm your host, the authentic one, Mr. Matty Kiwoom, and of course, I am joined by the stats wizard himself, the guy behind all the analytics that you see here at playerprofiler.com, Mr. Evan Ringler. Evan, what's going on, dog?
What's up, Matty? What's up to all the people out there? It's nice to be back. And we're looking forward to helping out a lot of the people out there that are struggling in their fantasy leagues this week. That's what we're going to be focusing on.
Oh, we got such a big show lined up. I mean, it could be even season saving, if you
Yes,
will.
sir.
So you're going to want to stick around for everything that we got. We got some tips to help you save your fantasy season, whether it be a direct player to trade for or some big picture ideas. We're going to get you covered. But of course, before we do, make sure you subscribe to the Player Profiler YouTube channel. Absolutely obliterate that like button and leave a comment. What is something that you are doing? Give us one of your tips on what you might be doing to save your fantasy season in 2025. This is a redraft conversation, but there could be some dynasty takeaways, some nuggets that you could use, some things that you could help get an edge on the jabronis in your league. So, without further ado, people, get out your pens and your pads and let's start game planning to turn these dang seasons around. So the bat signal is out, the beacon is out. We see it in the sky. SOS, save our squad. We need some help. These could be the injury-related teams. This could just be the downtrodden teams. We just want to give some tips because sometimes your problem in fantasy football doesn't seem like it's getting solved when you're checking out these shows. You can kind of paint in broad strokes. But there's some people, in redraft that find themselves down and out and quitting. Guys, girls, quitting is not the answer, okay? You got to stick it out. You got to do it for the sake of the league. Try to turn your season around. It's not too late. I have been a part of some leagues where I was left for dead. I thought I was done. My season was over. A couple of things happened. Some good fortune went my way, and all of a sudden, boom, I am in the playoffs fighting for a championship. So, without further ado, Evan, what's your first tip for the people tuning in? Help solve their problem. Help solve all these fantasy managers' problem. Help save their season. Give us your first tip.
Yeah, before we get into it too deep, I think you're absolutely right that a lot of people do give up on their teams before they need to. In redraft, a lot of times you can sneak into the playoffs by going 7-7. That can get
That's
the
right.
job done if your points are good or if your head-to-head matchups went the right way. So even if you're 1-7, you still have a little bit of a chance there. Granted, you got to go on a bit of a streak here, but it's not completely over just yet. So that brings me to my first topic for today, turning around our injured, down and out squads. And that is swinging for the fences in trades. We want upside in these kind of situations because, hey, if it doesn't work out, our season was almost over anyways. So there's really no risk here. We're all about the upside. And I have a few volatile trade targets with awesome ceilings but low floors that managers might be looking to move on from at this time of the year. Number one is Brian Thomas Jr. I mean, he is the poster child of this. The usage is really good, but he, as a player, has been really bad this year. But there's obviously a chance that he turns around and becomes a wide receiver one again. Totally possible. Another guy, Brock Bowers. Whoever has Brock Bowers, probably pretty frustrated at the moment. He's done basically nothing for him except for one game. He is coming back this week, but I bet that Brock Bowers manager probably has another tight end they really like, whether it's Jake Ferguson, or Rondé Gadsden, or anybody else they picked up off the waiver wire, because that tight end waiver wire has been so hot this season. That Brock Bowers manager, good chance that he's willing to move on from him. Great time to go trade for him. And then the last one, Nico Collins. Super disappointing. He might miss one more game with this concussion. We'll kind of see how it shakes out this week. But I would usually expect it to only be one game missed. So he's been disappointing, but we've seen CJ Stroud playing a lot better the past couple of weeks. And if he can keep that play up, then the fantasy points will be there for Nico Collins over the second half, and whoever has him is probably very disappointed in the way that it's gone so far this year. So yeah, that's kind of the bucket of players we're looking at. Guys with huge upside, but they've been very disappointing so far this year. So the manager that owns them, good chance they're looking to move on.
And when you're targeting these type of players, Evan, like you're obviously ready and prepared to pay up, right? You're
Absolutely.
There's no need to nickel and diming a trade. Winning the trade isn't your objective here, right? Winning in fantasy has to be your objective, and sometimes that comes at the expense of the league chat. You might get clowned by your boys. Might be told that you got, absolutely beat down via the trade streets. This is not the time to get antsy. This is not the time to make sure your value checks out on the margins. This is the time to put on the old batting gloves, get in the box, take an absolute swing for the fences. So I love the call. I think it's super important to do. Don't get scared. Scared money don't make money. And in fantasy, there's such little we can do, Ev. Such little we can do as fantasy gamers. I mean, Matt Kelly coined the term, and I've been saying it, using it. It's been in my head for forever. We are playing a proxy of another game. We're playing a game of another game. What can we do? Well, we can make moves. We can be active. We can be on the waiver wire. We can do those things. We can take swings for the fences. Love the call. I think it's a big, big, big thing to bring up because it seems obvious on the surface, right? But too many people forget it. Too many people just forget the fact that you could throw caution to the wind, especially in seasonal leagues, and just try your best at something that might work out. And if it doesn't, it ain't working out right now anyway.
Right.
What's going on, Brad B?
If we're talking, maybe we should go into a little bit the kind of guys we should be moving on from in these kind of examples that I'm talking about. And I would say guys that are probably not going to burn you, but have been really good this year. Guys like Josh Jacobs. There's going to be some spicy names out there. Bucky Irving. People might really be looking forward to that comeback. Emeka Egbuka. I don't know. You're going to have to get rid of some real dudes to make these trades, but you got to take a swing, man.
I'm going to dive into a little bit of that here. I got that in my tip too, but I think that's a great thing to bring up. I also have to say this just to piggyback on it because this is rampant throughout fantasy leagues. Don't be too scared to make the other team better. If the first place team in your league is selling a piece, 2 pieces, 3 pieces, that's going to help you now, some of the names you mentioned and more, don't be hesitant to trade them your best player, your Josh Jacobs, because I don't want to give them the championship. Who cares about their roster? Worry about your own roster. Make sure you clean your room before you worry about others, the old saying goes. Love the call. And, of course, I'm seeing some chats build up, guys. We have made the executive decision to put the chats at the end so our podcast listeners can tune out if they don't want to be live in the chat. But I think this information is useful whether you're live here on Player Profiler Network Wednesday night or if you're listening via podcast later on, because I think some of these things, these real-life situations, help you navigate through the fantasy street. So I'm starring them all. Stick around to the end. We will answer every single one of them. It's become, honestly, some of the most fun parts of the show that we can get going. So stick around. So for me, what I'm going to do here is I'm gonna give you a just like Evan did, a big picture, and then we can kind of talk it through. Evan, if you have some questions, make sure you ask it because we want to make sure we flush these things out. But it's super important when you're trying to save your season to cash in even on your most difficult decisions. Like, make sure that you cash in no matter how difficult it is to do so. And what do I mean by that? If you're not winning and you have Dallas Goedert, he's probably one of the bright spots on your roster. You probably got him late. You probably peacocked around your league as he's going off in the first week. You've probably, maybe you've tried trading another tight end. You're probably uber excited of your fantasy genius rostering and keeping Dallas Goedert, who is tight end 6 right now. But that's the type of player you need to sell. You need to tear down at that tight end. Or let's turn it up a notch. A guy like DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf, you probably use some pretty significant draft capital, bring him on your squad. He's wide receiver 17 right now, so he's performing at a pretty decent level. But when you look at his profile, when you look at a guy like DK Metcalf, his fantasy points per game far exceed his expected fantasy points per game, which we've talked about on a number of shows. That is a metric that just kind of tells you whether you might have some negative regression, regression to the mean in your future. He's averaging 14.7. He's expected 10.2. So if the touchdowns if they dry up, he could kind of fall off. And even if it doesn't, again, you got to make the hard decisions. You got to sell some of these players that have value in your trade market, because you are in a spot now where you don't have leverage. You are not good. You are not looking like a playoff team. You got to make some things happen, shake some things up, and this is going to hurt a lot of people's ears.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's a great point.
Cash in on your elite running backs.
Mm-hmm.
If you're downtrodden, if you have a bunch of injuries, if you are looking at a record that does not look playoff bound, and you got Bijan, you got Achane, you got Cook, Josh Jacobs, hell, if you have Jonathan Taylor, trade him. The trade market on these guys is astronomical, and like I said, who cares if you make another team the championship favorite? Get yourself in the playoffs. What would a contender in your league do for Jonathan Taylor right now? Who would they give up? Their wide receiver 1 and their running back 3 and maybe a flex that they just don't really need that would be in your lineup every week? Sure. And I know these names I mentioned, the Bijans, the JTs, these are the players that outpace their expected fantasy points per game because they're that good. They're more prone to score touchdowns. But every single one of the guys that I just listed has an expected fantasy total, or 2 or 3, anywhere from 2 all the way to 5.5 points less than what they're scoring. Now, does that mean they're going to fall off a cliff? Absolutely not. They might be great, but the thing is, you got to make these hard decisions, and you got to make the moves that can shake things up. And sometimes when you're looking at your piss-poor roster and you see that you have Bijan, you're like, I can't trade this guy. He's my only guy. Yeah, but that guy can turn into 2, 3, maybe even 4 pieces, depending on all your different variables in your league. And now it's just time to look yourself in the mirror and make the tough decision. So I think that is a huge tip right now. Get comfortable with the uncomfortable. Make the hard decisions, and make sure you're cashing in on players that might have a little bit of fluff, a little bit of too much fat on the meat, you know what I'm saying? A little bit extra that can be shaved off, that might see some bad games ahead, maybe bad schedule, whatever. You do the research on these players in your team. You know your team better than I do. So make sure you just cash in when it's time to cash in.
Absolutely beautiful point again from Matty, like he always does. If you have one of these disappointing teams where you're 2-6 or something like that, your team, it doesn't have enough good players on it. You need to get more good players. And in order to do that, you're going to have to trade away one of your great players, probably. I thought you did a great job at breaking down the top running backs, especially. You got the top guys that are like ultra league winners, CMC and JT. If you're trading one of those guys, maybe try to get one of the guys in the next tier down. Bijan, Achane, James Cook, Jahmyr Gibbs. And a significant plus, because you can, because those guys are that good. Or you can move on from your Gibbs, Bijan, Achane, Cook, and move down to the, Derrick Henry, Kyron Williams, Tyrone Tracy, DeAndre Swift, Breece Hall, right, those kind of guys, and get a significant plus. Some receivers that might make sense in a trade like that, Ladd McConkey, George Pickens, Roma Dunze, Drake London. So if you can get like one of those running backs, one of these receivers for your stud, then you're betting that if those 2 players hit, you just made your team a whole heck of a lot better. And it is risky, but like we were just talking about, you got to start taking some risks at this point.
Yeah, and pounce on bye week. Some teams want to, they'll be willing to trade with a little bit of extra value because that player's on bye. Don't be afraid to pounce. I know you need wins now, but if you can get that as a cherry on top, even, you just got to accrue value. You got to get these players onto your team that can help you win in the short term. And guys, I see that the chat's lining up. Stick around to the end of the show. We're going to answer every single one of them. So, Evan, let's keep the train rolling. What's another tip to save these poor souls teams?
My second tip is to target young players. Over the second half of this 2025 season, there's going to be several huge breakouts from rookies or second-year players that we just could not have seen coming. It happens every single year. And I brought a bunch of different candidates because, I do this for a full-time job, and even I don't know what's going to happen. But I have a bunch of options, and a couple of these guys, I'm sure, are going to have huge breakouts down the stretch this year. So if you're looking to make big deals, like we just talked about, we want to be targeting these rookies and these second-year players especially. So at the running back position, obviously great running back rookie class. So there's a lot of options here. I got Bill Merritt, Woody Marks, Bashal Tootin, RJ Harvey, Travion Henderson. All those guys have huge upside down the stretch, and I know they've been very disappointing, but at least one of them is going to hit in a pretty big way to end this season. And then if we look at the wide receiver position, there's even more guys that you could bet on. Travis Hunter, we just saw a big game out of him. Ricky Pearsall is going to be back this week, most likely. Matthew Golden, Luther Burden, some exciting, highly drafted rookies. Keon Coleman, Tez Johnson, or even Jaylin Noel. And then at the tight end position, Colston Loveland. So I just gave you 13 different names, and I would bet that at least two of them are going to have really big second halves. It's hard for me to tell you which ones, but in these big trades that you're making, try to get a young player thrown in, a first year or a second year player, because every year these guys come from out of nowhere to be absolute league winners.
What are some signs? Can you talk about some signs you might see in an analytical profile, what you're seeing on the fields? What are some signs that people can look out for to target the right one?
Yeah, I think it can be a little challenging at the running back position, especially because it's so much about opportunity at that position. You have to have the guy that's really getting the opportunity. For example, Bill Merritt, he is getting the opportunity right now, but the offense is letting him down so much. I think that's one you can easily make the argument that offense turns around as Jaden Daniels gets healthy. And if that offense does get better, all of a sudden Bill is back to what we think he should be, like a top 15 running back option. At the receiver position, we want to see some small ticks up in terms of like their efficiency and their usage. We just saw that with Travis Hunter. So this is probably this. If he has another big week this week, then your window's probably gone.
That's right.
Ricky Pearsall. We saw a lot of flashes when he was on the field healthy, but if he has a big game in week 9, then all of a sudden that window might start to close. We haven't really seen the flashes we want to see from guys like Matthew Golden or Luther Burden, so maybe you can be a tiny bit more patient there. But as soon as you see those little flashes, that's the time to pounce before you see like the full breakout.
So my next tip to save your season, it's real simple. It's real quick. I'm not going to dive into it because there's really not anything to confuse you with. It says straight up and down at 6 o'clock. If you're not winning in redraft, liquidate your quarterback and your tight end if they have some value, and then get ready to stream. So if you have Josh Allen and you're not winning, trade him for running backs, for wide receivers, and stream. If you have George Kittle, Tucker Kraft, Tyler Warren, any of these tight ends, trade them for running backs, receivers, and learn to stream. In redraft, even this deep in the year, as waiver wires have been picked over, these two positions are the elevated positions. You could go look in your redraft, your season leagues right now. You might see Kyler Murray there. You might see Sam Darnold there. These players that are coming off by, they might be sitting in free agency, people that drop because they don't want to play that game. You could potentially see a Baker Mayfield dropped if they would just happen to have two quarterbacks. Maybe they drafted Drake May late, Baker Mayfield early. There's all these options in redraft that we have to keep and be cognizant of, that the quarterback position, the tight end position, if you're diligent, if you're willing to put in the work, and don't get it twisted. Everything that we're talking about here, all these tips, they're not quick fixes they're not overnight fixes. You got to put in the work. I know it sounds ridiculous to say you got to work for fantasy football, but you do. You got to put in a little bit of time. Every time you're on the dump ski, you're on the porcelain pony, pull out the phone, do a little research, go to playerprofiler.com, look at the analytics, look at some of Evan's, all the hard work he's putting in. Do that stuff, put in the work. But when you liquidate quarterback and tight end for the positions of that mean more, the ones that really make a difference in terms of their value relative to other positions, then you could play the streaming game, get a little bit better, find quarterbacks, or you could potentially get lucky. And maybe you find the next, Gadsden, or you land the next Harold Fannin. You can churn and burn these two positions with relative ease. So if you're not winning and you have the best tight end, the best quarterback, trade them for running backs and receivers and start learning the streaming game, or at least be more diligent on the waiver wire to try to replace them, because in the long run, they're way more replaceable week to week than the running backs and wide receivers are.
I think this is the best point either of us has made so far today. Absolutely necessary to think about this for your own teams. What if we dive into this a little bit more? What would you be looking to get if you traded away, say, a Josh Allen?
Yeah. Okay. So in redraft, especially, let's say more of the sharper leagues. I think in the more casual leagues, you can really take advantage of a team that wants, looking for Josh Allen, and you could go shopping in the Derrick Henry aisle. And maybe even get another receiver. So let's talk about more of sharper leagues. And if you have the top of the line quarterback, you're looking at the top of your standings, because it's going to be a team that maybe has gotten some wins, using a player like Daniel Jones, somebody like maybe they're streaming, maybe they drafted two and they have there's all these possibilities they're looking to upgrade. Yeah. So for that, I'm looking for a running back more than a receiver, because you could also kind of play the short-term values at receiver. And if you pair that up with what we've talked about here, like, could you trade a Josh Allen for DeAndre Swift, Woody Marks, and a receiver? Could you shoot, if you're looking at the receiver end of things, could you move him for a Michael Pittman, a Zay Flowers, Stephon Diggs, who we talked about last week in detail? If you want to hear what Evan has to say about his second half, you're going to want to go check that out. So Stephon Diggs, Devontae Smith, who's going into a bye. Could you get a Drake London, who's right out right now, plus something? I'm shooting at the top, and I'm just layering it down. So if I have number 5 tight end quarterback, I'm going to go down a little bit more. If I have the number 1, I'm going to come up a little higher. But either way, you're going to go door to door. You're going to have to go door to door, sell to every single one of the QB needy contenders, and see if they have extra. See where you could get the 2-for-1 instead of the 1-for-1 straight up. But even if you could only get the 1-for-1, in most of our redraft formats, they're shallow enough that if you could move Josh Allen for Devontae Adams straight up, that sounds like caca. But I guarantee you Devontae plus whoever you stream is going to be better than Josh Allen plus whoever you put in at receiver. So it's just, these positions are replaceable. They're streamable. They're matchup. We put out so much content on a weekly basis, breaking down matchups. Consume that and make a pick. It's not going to be fun starting Joe Flacco, but guess what? If you started him last week, you're enjoying that 25-plus fantasy points. It may not be fun starting, J.J. McCarthy, but he's got some good matchups coming up down the road, so you just got to play the matchups.
Yep, and I think you make a great point when you say that you need to put in the work. There's probably 2, 3, or 4 teams, something like that, where you might be able to shop your Josh Allen or shop your Trey McBride to them, and they'll be interested. And so you need to talk to all of those different managers individually and try to play them against each other. Right. And, you start at the top, like the Derrick Henry, Drake London tier that you mentioned. And if you can't get that, then you work your way down. At the end of the day, you got to make a deal. But you can pit these different managers against each other to try to get one that suits you a little bit better.
And I know a lot of leagues are going to be whispering to themselves, well, my leagues don't care. My league trade market doesn't give a rat's ass about quarterbacks. That might be true.
If it's Josh Allen, though.
But, right, there are price points that make sense. There are players who make sense. And there are just certain guys adding to a lineup. And you can be as sharp as you want. You can be as scientifically minded as you think you are. You might think you're Mr. Analytics. Everyone, and I mean everyone, is subject to those projections. And they love seeing Josh Allen's make their projections go way up on a weekly basis. And maybe they're not that way. Maybe that's not how they play fantasy. But something in their brain's going to go, ooh, if I put Josh Allen and my projection goes from 120 to 135, ooh, I can put this guy in to my wide receiver. So yeah, you might not think there's a market, but you just got to try because you'll find a suitor.
Definitely. And then so we can move on to my third tip for these really struggling teams out there. And this is just really geared towards the guys who are injured, but have some guys coming back maybe. You got Hampton coming back in a few weeks. You got Trey Benson coming back soon. And you need some short-term options. Or maybe the bye week is really hitting you this week. Some short-term options. We want to target the teams in your league that have a surplus. There's a good chance that there's a team in your league with Kamani Vidal on the bench or Bam Knight on the bench, or they're really frustrated with Bill Krosky-Merritt, who we were just talking about in another part of this, or some receivers. Wan'Dale Robinson might be on someone's bench, or Malik Washington or DJ Moore. These are guys that everybody is upset with right now, so the cost is going to be essentially free for you, but you can plug them right into your lineup. They have good matchups this week. They'll score points because we need to win right now. If you're in this position, you're 1-7 or 2-6. We can't afford to push it another week, so we need to make these deals now. Super cheap guys. It's all about the teams that you're targeting. You want to make sure that they're not in lineups, because if Kamani Vidal is in someone's lineup, they're not going to want to trade him away. But if he's on the bench, then who cares? Because Hampton's going to be back in a couple weeks anyways. So might as well get what I can now. You know what I mean?
100%. Look for the teams that have this cross section. Good player on the bench, guy coming back from injury. Because what is a frustration we all deal with? How do I make a roster spot for my Trey Benson? I don't want to drop. I have been so sharp, Evan, on the waiver wire. I don't want to drop my Kamani Vidal, but I'm looking at my roster. He might be the odd man out. You could pray upon that. If you're not winning, pray upon the team that is going to have to make a decision and let them know, big, listen, I see that in a week from now, you're going to get desperate. I'm offering you a chance to get ahead of your desperation. Why don't you go ahead? Let's make this move and make it happen. This is how you could get ahead of some of these things, because also other teams are going to notice this, but they might be a little late. You can pounce early, set the market. You can get the player. You can get the trade done before anyone even realizes what's happening. So love the call. My last tip to save your seasons, it's pretty close to being on the same lines as your first one. You said swing for the fences. I'm going to use a different term, but I'm trying to strap my team to a dang rocket ship. You need to buy in on the ground floor. You need to do the research, find the guy, find the analytical profile that screams rocket, and trade for those players. Will you be right? No. But like you said, you got to swing for the fences, and sometimes swinging for the fences is difficult because it's not always easy to get the guys who might have these big swing ups. But it is sometimes easy to get a guy who looks like he's not doing anything. Maybe somebody who really hasn't done anything, but you're seeing something in the profile, like you mentioned. You notice the flash as you're watching Red Zone on Sunday, and you want to buy into this player before he takes off. Some names that you need to monitor. Jaylin Warren. Jaylin Warren has had one good game, but two kind of duds out of his last three. But the usage is awesome. I'd say damn near elite. In the schedule for the Steelers in terms of opposing defenses and how they match up against running backs, a lot of green. If you use the sleeper app, which you should, it's the best one, a lot of green. That's somebody you could strap your Rocketship to. Buy in now before it's too expensive. This is the type of player that you could parlay what you just said. He's on your bench. He's on someone's bench. They've killed it in the waiver wire. They got Vidal as their running back 3. They're killing it. They don't care about boring-ass Jaylin Warren. Buy into Jaylin Warren. Another one, Mark Andrews. So you have Dallas Goedert, and you have to make the decision to cash in. Get Mark Andrews in another piece, because Mark Andrews' schedule is so tight end friendly, it's ridiculous. Plus, Lamar Jackson's coming back. Have you heard of him, people? Lamar Jackson? he's going to be back this week. And we've seen Mark Andrews be basically a fantasy zombie, dead and just rise up from the fantasy grave and be, effective in our lineup. So that's another name. And the only Travis Hunter.
Yes,
Just
sir.
go get him. Just go get him. He is. I would make a bet that if you looked over, the majority of seasonal drafts, seasonal leagues, he is on the bench on about 80% of the teams that roster him, maybe even higher, because they've come to grips that he's a cornerback now, that he's a tweener, that he's not going to help you in fantasy. So they have him on the bench. Yeah, he was good before the bye, but Brian Thomas left the game. It was garbage time. It was in a different country, yada, yada, yada. But then maybe, just maybe, you can buy a player who is rumored to potentially be the first read option type player coming out of the bye. Rookie buy bump. We talk about it, right? You love the rookie buy bump.
Yes, sir.
So if these reports are true, and I don't think that the reports that Brian Thomas is going to get traded are true, but I absolutely, without a shadow of doubt, believe that if the right team came knocking at the right price, they would trade Brian Thomas. This was a signal to the NFL that he is available. Now, they're going to want a first-round pick plus because they drafted him in the first round, and he's performed. So they're going to want to get return on their investment. No team's going to pay that. Not a single team is going to even give him a first-round pick. That's just not how it works. These players, unfortunately, depreciate the second they're drafted, unfortunately, in the NFL trade market, not fantasy. So he's not going anywhere, but I think that they realize that they want to have Travis Hunter be their wide receiver one. I truly believe. As someone who's big in the NFL draft, I scout the prospects in college. He was my number one wide receiver coming out. Just if he played 100% wide receiver, he was my wide receiver one. He's that talented. And then you kind of look at a guy like Brian Thomas, even if he's there, doesn't he profile more like a T. Higgins? Doesn't he profile more like he did in college at LSU as the wide receiver 2 behind Malik Neighbors, and he was great there. So this isn't a panic sell, get rid of your Brian Thomas, so don't mishear that, but it is an absolute go out there and get Travis Hunter, because if you're trying to get yourself on a rocket ship, take off, you got to get these players that might be left for dead, might be forgotten about. They come to your team, they go on a rally, and that saves your season. So you're looking for these superheroes, these fantasy football, Supermans, Batmans, Spider-Mans, pick your flavor. You got to get yourselves the ones that are going to cash fast.
I love it, man. I especially love the Jaylin Warren call. He's a guy that the data always looks so good on my end. The projection always looks so good on my end that I don't even think about how he's perceived in the fantasy community. But you're absolutely right that people don't give him the respect he deserves. You can trade for him right now, and he has a great floor because he gets great usage, but the ceiling is also going to be unlocked soon as well. That's a great one. As far as other rocket ship guys, the ones I would focus on are Bill Merritt. We've talked about him a lot. Bashal Tootin, Travis Hunter, Ricky Pearsall. Those would be my 4.
Yeah, baby. So you just got to do these things. Take these tips, apply them to your leagues, save your seasons, make it happen. And guys, I see you in the chat. We're going to get to each and every one of those questions. We have another segment, though. We're going to look back at October. Okay, we've got almost 9 weeks. We're in week 9 right now. We have all these games, but let's shrink the sample size. Let's look at the month of October, and let's give our biggest October takeaways. And you're going to get all here in the game plan. Stick around.
So let's put our hoodie on, and let's talk about Player Profiler's DFS Dominator. It has a cash game optimizer that leverages the projections from Billy and Bradley and Evan and that Player Profiler AI engine to create cash game lineups that certainly have a high floor, but also give you that ceiling. Now, you've probably heard about the most powerful tool of all, our Lineup Genius. We know winning GPPs requires a completely different approach, which is why our Lineup Genius takes you through the process of selecting the quarterbacks in the juiciest matchups. Then it highlights the stacks and runbacks that are available, lets you pick the chalk level, lets you pick the level of correlation with a number of other proprietary settings available to you. Click a button and it generates hundreds of lineups to be imported into FanDuel and DraftKings. And it's just $45 a year, not a week, a year. So go fight fire with a Player Profiler DFS Dominator.
Matty Kiwoom, Evan Ringler, the game plan. We're here. October takeaways. Lots happened. Lots changed. So, Evan, what was your first October takeaway?
My big takeaway is that the Bengals wide receivers are going to be okay. And this is just so important because obviously Jamar Chase went 101 in almost every league. T. Higgins was going at the end of the second in almost every league. And they were just stone cold busts over the first month. But it's all coming back around. In weeks 1 through 4, the Bengals offense was 31st in EPA per play. Over the last 4 weeks, that's up to fifth in the NFL. And if we look just at wide receiver usage, they've gone up from 28th to 3rd over the last month. And then T. Higgins is up 6.5 points per game. Jamar Chase is up almost 15 points per game. That is just insane. He's essentially doubled his production over the last month. These two guys are going to be okay, and I'm just so glad because I was just pounding the table for T. Higgins and Chase Brown, which, to a lesser degree is also looking better, also on the uptick. This Bengals offense in general, it's going to be okay.
It's so funny. I'm looking at my list here. Number 1, Joe Flacco was the fantasy savior we all needed. Because he was. You're right. I mean, we were looking at our Jamar Chase teams just absolutely dumbfounded of how it could go so wrong. T. Higgins felt like left for dead. Chase Brown was already labeled an absolute bust. Noah Fant has now even emerged with the emergence of Joe Flacco. He's truly saving not just the teams that needed a quarterback that picked him up, but the teams that had all the weapons for Cincinnati. He's elevated. You used the term last week, kingmaker, when we were talking about Dak Prescott. Joe Flacco is not only the savior, is pretty much become, the savior for all these, the kingmaker in his own right. And you talk about Chase Brown. Chase Brown, in the month of October, the lowest week total was running back 24. Week 5, he was 24. He was 22, 19, running back 5. So we've seen now running back 2 production every single week that Joe Flacco suited up. So he may not be the world beater that you hoped in round 3 when you took him, but you'll take a guy whose floor is a running back 2, who has running back 1 upside, especially if you have a balanced roster. So the takeaway, of course, from both of us, Joe Flacco, stud, savior. We love you, Joe. Give us your next takeaway. Thank you, Kang.
My next takeaway is a team that it just confounds me every week. I look at the betting odds and I just have no idea what to think about the Atlanta Falcons offense and the Atlanta Falcons in general. They can win or lose to any team on a weekly basis by any number of points. In the past 5 weeks, they've beaten Buffalo and have been blown out by both Miami and Carolina. All those games were not close, which is crazy. The offense, I think, will be good enough going forward, but this is certainly not the breakout offense we hoped for. I do think Bijan is going to be just fine. He's going to continue producing at an elite clip. Not panicked about his one bad week against Miami, but I do think that we should be tempering our expectations for Drake London and Kyle Pitts. Over the last month, Atlanta ranks 29th in wide receiver usage, 24th in tight end usage. So these two guys are going to be volatile, although you can keep them in your lineup. They're not going to be stone cold smashes. And this all comes down to Michael Penix, who has been genuinely bad this season. Unfortunately, I had high hopes coming in, but it just has not turned out. Penix is currently 33rd in completion percentage over expected. He's 35th in true completion percentage, and the downfield accuracy is absolutely horrific. He's like 20% worse than every other quarterback in terms of catchable pass rate past 20 yards. It's really scary stuff. The downfield stuff is just not possible with Penix at quarterback.
I kind of thought Penix had the ability or the outside chance, or bold take region, whatever you want to call it. I thought he could throw 30-something touchdowns. I thought he had that type of upside playing indoors with these weapons. It just hasn't looked as crisp for him, and that's obviously trickled down to everybody. Bijan's got a tough matchup against the New England Patriots this weekend. If you were in a league and you were trying to make a play for Bijan, would you it's going to be a king's ransom either way. Would you gamble on a bad week against a New England defense that has not given up a 50-yard rusher in hopes that Bijan has back-to-back duds, and then, is that when we have a chance to buy, or would you try to buy Bijan now?
You know what? I think I would just try to buy him now if I'm going to buy him. I don't want to risk the chance. Honestly, I'm not that scared of the New England run defense. I know that the numbers look pretty good so far this year, but when you look at the talent on that defense, it doesn't totally add up to like a dominant rush defense, in my opinion. So I wouldn't be shocked if Bijan completely duds versus Miami and then crushes versus New England. I think that's totally possible. So yeah, I like buying Bijan.
A dude like Bijan's a guy that breaks trends,
Right.
That's just the type of guy he is.
He's awesome, dude. When I make these graphics on Thursday and Friday every week, these charts with advanced running back data, I post them on my X, by the way, at Evan Ringler FF. You can check those out. It's always just Bijan in the top right. He's incredible in terms of the juke rate and the yards created and all that stuff. He is really the best. I would say that he's the best running back in the NFL right now.
Pound for pound, best talent. You should have the highest Madden rating in your eyes, is what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of Jonathan Taylor fans that are going to be so mad, so mad at you. Anyway, my next takeaway from October, watching these slew of games, Jaylin Noel's a fucking baller. Jaylin Noel is a baller.
Let's go.
This is more of a dynasty take because I do think there are a lot of obstacles in his way to, kind of showing out in a sense in redraft. But I want to buy all the Jaylin Noel that I can. He's going to need Nico Collins to probably be removed from the picture for long term. Christian Kirk as well. But I mean, at what point? Why are the Texans even bothering with Christian Kirk? Just trade him, cut him, get him out of the way, clear the path. Nico, they just extended. They're not going to get rid of him now, but maybe they can in the offseason. I don't know. I'll go check it out on Spot Rec after the show. But Jaylin Noel is he's just been so good over this month. These last two games, on the surface, if it kind of really popped, he's getting 13 targets, caught 9 of them, 11.7, 11.3 fantasy points without touchdowns. Give me double digits without touchdowns because the touchdowns will come if the volume's there. He's that type of player. The volume will be there. But we forget, though, that game against Baltimore before their bye, he did score a touchdown. Only on 2 catches, but 9.8 fantasy points. This is the beginning of a trend. You are a smart man that look for these things. 9.8, 11.7, 11.3 seems like a blip of the radar. Until we look back a month from now and it's 12, 11, 13, 20. And now we looked at that blip and all of a sudden it's supported. And there is a case for this. A similar athletic profile, a similar player, a similar role on a team. That way back when, remember, I'm old enough to remember what fantasy football was like way back in 2021. And I'm just kidding. Obviously, that's not that long ago. But there was a player who had some flashes. There was a 3-week span early in the season, 13, 13.5, 9.6. Went away. Nothing. Literal zero. 7.6, 5.8, 6.3. Just nothing. All of a sudden, comes in week 13. 25, then 15, then 24, then 26, then 35, then 26. And he hasn't stopped putting up fantasy points since. I'm talking about Amon-Ra St. Brown. A guy who can play the slot, can warrant volume, but he's athletic enough to make plays with the ball in his hands, athletic enough to make plays downfield, and in an offense that can cater a weapon like this. All of those boxes you could check off for Jaylin Noel in Houston. He's got the quarterback. He's got an offense that hopefully will be trending up over these next few years as these younger guys become the real playmakers that they were drafted to be. Offensive line gets better. This is the case to make for a guy like Jaylin Noel, who I loved coming out of Iowa State. I really thought the profile popped when you're kind of watching him on film, watching him in college. He gets the draft capital, 3rd-round draft capital, gets that, top 3, day 2 draft capital that we search for. He's athletic, fast. He can make the plays all over the field, and we've seen it in just this small stint. Reports already came out. This is Wednesday we're recording. Nico, Christian Kirk, both back. All of a sudden, the person who got those 11 points from Jaylin Noel this week is pretty deflated. Now's the chance to buy into a guy who I think one day is going to be a fantasy mainstay, like a top 25 wide receiver on a weekly basis type cat. He is that type of profile, and he's that type of role. Things have to pan out, but we've seen things shake out in short order before.
I love this. Yeah, I was super high on Jaylin Noel and Jaden Higgins coming out of the draft this year. Higgins hasn't quite flashed as much as Noel has, though, who looks completely electric when the ball's in his hands. I think he had a punt return touchdown early in the year, too, if I remember correctly. I just probably don't expect this to happen this year, unlike Amon-Ra. We got pretty lucky with that one. Jaylin Noel, this whole Texans receiver room, it's really getting on my nerves because Christian Kirk is not as good as Jaylin Noel at this point. They should just be playing him over. And they, even this past week without Nico and Kirk, they just were determined to play these guys, Braxton Berrios and Jared Wayne, combined for like 30 routes, I think. It's like, what are we doing? Just hand the keys off to the Iowa State Cyclones, who have already been flashing. And one of these guys, and I think it's Noel, maybe Higgins as well, is really going to be a big difference maker for this team in the future. And, Noel has flashed a lot more than Higgins. So definitely love this take, but I wouldn't mind buying a little Jaden Higgins as well.
Do you get a little something here, something there? And guys, I love the player. It's just, paint me a picture where Tank Dell ever comes back. And
yeah, it's sad. It's really sad.
It sucks. I hate to see it. And when he got hurt, Tank Dell was an awesome player in college. He did pretty damn good for, the Texans when he was there. But horrific knee injury, undersized guy as it was, kind of. They told us, the Texans told us that they're going to move on without him when they drafted not one but two high-end wide receivers this past year. So if you're worried about what it looks like when Tank Dell returns, don't. Buy Jaylin Noel, buy Jaden Higgins.
Yeah, and, if they wanted to keep Tank Dell, they would have to give him a contract to actually give him a shot, and they're not going to do that.
Right.
All right, so let's get to my last October takeaway, which is that, man, this rookie tight end class is just awesome. And we are blessed with an insane amount of young talent at the tight end position right now. So let's go through the rookies. Currently, we have Tyler Warren, who's the tight end 3 in expected points per game. I'm just going to list the expected points per game for these guys. Oronde Gadsden, tight end 5 expected points per game. And that's with like 4 games where he didn't do anything. So that's crazy. Harold Fannin, tight end 8 expected. Mason Taylor, he's 8th in targets. Hasn't quite worked out in fantasy, but you've seen the flashes. Colson Loveland hasn't done much yet. That one's been really disappointing. But the pedigree is certainly there. We're not giving up yet, not even close. Great stash, of course. And then if we look at non-rookies, we get McBride, Bowers, Kraft, Ferguson, Pitts, Kincaid, Laporta. Has the league ever been this stacked with young tight ends? It's just incredible. It's like every dynasty team I look at has just at least one of these studs, these young studs, and a lot of them have 2.
Mm-hmm. You just stumbled upon them. Doesn't matter what format you played in. If it was seasonal, they were picked up. If it's dynasty, they were 3rd, 4th, 5th rookie drafts. They're all over the place. And I don't know what it is, but the maturation process of a tight end used to be so slow as molasses. You'd have to wait. Now it's like, just give them a few weeks. Let's see what happens. Let's see them cook. If they can't block, we'll find someone who will. We'll figure it out. We'll get it going. Yeah, this tight end class came with a little bit of hype. There was a little bit of hype because we knew we were going to get 2 first-rounders, which is rare. Not only did we get 2 first-rounders, we got 2 first half of the first round. So we got a lot of high-end guys. Plus, I was a big fan of Harold Fannin. I think Katie went to Bowling Green. The numbers were so astronomical. I just chased it everywhere. Gadsden was a low-key player at Syracuse that, you could take at the end of your rookie draft. Mm-hmm. And here they are performing right away. And there's still Arroyo left. Arroyo's a talented guy that he could find his way to making more plays for the Seahawks in short order.
Terrence
Loaded
Ferguson
class.
as well, another
Terrence
second round
Ferguson.
pick.
Terrence Ferguson, be on the lookout this week for Terrence Ferguson. Had a big touchdown last week. And when you look at the tight end production for the Rams, if you had all the tight ends and you could mush them into one, they'd be a weekly stud.
Yeah, they
Someone
would.
does, could be Higbee.
It's a problem.
It could be
they have 4.
that's the problem. There's 4 of them. Now, if
Yeah.
it just ends up being one, they're gonna have value. Could be Ferguson before we know it.
But yeah,
So
I
that's a
want
good
to
call.
ask you a question. So we've never seen this dearth of young tight end talent before. How does this affect, especially in dynasty, how you approach the tight end position when there's all these tight ends out there and they're all young like this?
The tight end position for me, unless the tight end premium is fat, I just don't care about tight end. I just play it year to year because what was the dynasty value on Kyle Pitts after his rookie season?
Yeah.
We see guys spike early. We've seen guys take a year spike. We've seen one and dones. So I'm still going to approach it where I'm not going to overvalue. I'm not going to get too high, but I'm also not going to get too low. And I'm just going to chase the true studs, the guys that come with the outlier pedigrees, the outlier production, the outlier metrics. And then after that, we'll play it year to year. So
Yeah, maybe you'll be a little bit more aggressive on tight ends in rookie drafts. So then, because you can flip these guys, all these guys have value.
Right. Rookie drafts, how it changes for rookie draft is, I'm not going to take a shot anymore at the who gives a shit receiver that needs 5 injuries. Give me a chance on the rookie tight end that was drafted in the 3rd round of the NFL draft. That's a 5th round rookie pick. That's what it opened my eyes to.
And it's even more reason to fade the tight ends like in the startup and stuff like that.
Yeah, find them. My last takeaway, and it pains me to say it because I've held out. I've held out for this guy, hoping it would look better. Caleb Williams sucks.
Oh man,
Caleb Williams sucks.
Man,
he sucks, and whatever the opposite of a kingmaker is, that's what he is. He stinks. And when you look at his season, you look at his production per game, Evan, you can boil down all of the ups down to 2 things. The scripted opening drive of the season in the Dallas Cowboys matchup. If those things didn't exist in 2025, this guy would be completely forgotten about. A complete bust. There's nothing in analytical profile to get excited about. He's escaping a lot, but that's because he runs too early. He has a lot of red zone carries, but he doesn't find the end zone. Only 2 touchdowns. Again, 1 coming on the first drive of the season. And he's routinely getting this team stuck in the mud in the red zone. He's routinely having to rely on, hopefully, his running backs finding the end zone for his team to win. And at what point does Ben Johnson say enough is enough? I'm going to do the Bryce Young thing. I'm going to bench him for Tyson Bagent. I'm going to give him a breather because we cannot win football games with this guy. And I benched him in my fantasy team that I have him. I even changed his nickname on Sleeper to Benched because I didn't want just to put him on my bench. I wanted him to somehow get the frequency.
You want to send a message, yeah.
Calm, cool, Corey Matthews of the Golden Pony Fantasy Football Experience, you are benched. You are no longer going to be asked to play. Because it's just... It looks worse. Watching him play looks worse than the numbers look. The analytical profile is not good.
Yeah.
But watching him, it looks worse. It looks like a more frantic, a less composed, and a less accurate version of Kyler Murray. And Kyler Murray started off as a perennial top 5, top 8 fantasy quarterback because he could run. But when that stopped, we have now dealt with 3 seasons of Kyler Murray disappointing. Well, we're not even through year 2 yet, and we're already looking at a majority of disappointment with Caleb Williams. He stinks. And I had this thought. What if there's a bizarro universe where the Bears didn't draft Caleb, took their licks, but then signed Daniel Jones, signed Sam Darnold. 2 years ago, signed Baker Mayfield. Wouldn't this team be considered probably a front runner in the NFC right now?
Honestly, yeah. I mean, it's a pretty good roster.
Put Jared Goff with Ben Johnson with these weapons. How many fucking points do they score per week? A lot. A lot of points. This weaponry is like none other in football. And I'm not speaking hyperbole. Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, Luther Burden, 2 tight ends, 2 running backs, an improved offensive line. This team is ready to score so many points, and the quarterback is holding them back.
This really hurts. This really hurts my soul. But I think you're right. I do think you're right. Oh man, could have drafted Drake May.
Don't take away my mate.
Could have drafted Jaden Daniels. Oh man, that hurts.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Caleb is kind of going to be like Justin Fields, not in terms of play style, but in terms of when you watch them, you see the flashes, and the flashes make you keep coming back over and over and over again, even though at the end of the day, they're just not good. So I'm worried that people are going to be continued to buy in year after year, week after week on Caleb Williams for the next 2, 3, 4 years until they finally accept that it didn't work. And I think your comparison to Kyler Murray in terms of play style is a perfect one. He's a good quarterback. He's a top 20 quarterback in the world, something like that. But that's not good enough for an NFL team, especially. You need a top 10 guy. And if you're stuck with a guy who can never get to that level, then you're just in purgatory. So while this really hurt my soul, I think I needed to hear it. So thank you, Matty.
It hurt me too. I mean, I was so optimistic about Caleb Williams this year. And that first drive,
I know.
Monday Night Football was like, turn it up, baby.
Yeah.
Turn it up. Look at what it looks like with Ben Johnson. And yeah, he got through with 24 fantasy points that game, so you didn't really bat an eye. And then the following week, it was right around 20 against Detroit. Didn't look good, but you're like, you know what? 2 passing touchdowns, that's what Ben Johnson will do. He'll keep this guy throwing touchdowns. He'll be relevant. Then he goes berserk against the Cowboys, and you're like, we're here. Then you see a dud against Vegas. You're like, all right, but they won. Then he has a dud against, not really a dud against Washington, but it comes in complete garbage time. So you're like, don't care about garbage time. We don't care about that in fantasy. But then these past 2 weeks against good matchups have looked so piss poor. 58.6% completion percentage in week 6, 57.7% completion percentage in week 7, 65% last week, but he threw no touchdowns. He's had games of back-to-back picks, 3 picks out of his last 4. He's only had 2 passing touchdowns in his last 4 games. Sure, he may have some ups because the weaponry is that sick nasty, but he's holding them back. If this team had a competent quarterback, just a guy who could manage the Ben Johnson system, not only would Rome be eating, not only would DJ Moore be eating, but you would probably have good running backs, and on a weekly basis, Loveland would pop, Burden would pop, someone would pop. There would be enough food to go around for everybody. He would be the guy that just feasted. And now, look at it. We're all just stuck watching the Bears right now.
Yeah. And I'm not necessarily shocked that it hasn't worked for Caleb Williams in the NFL, but it hasn't worked. I didn't expect it to go this way, where it's not the sacks that are the problem, even though, he is holding on to the ball for too long. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's about the accuracy. The accuracy has been
awful. Really,
really rough. Like in every metric you look at, it's bad. And when you watch it on tape, it's really bad. I don't know if that's going to get better. I didn't think it was really an issue in college. What do you think about this accuracy thing? Can it improve? Can we get back?
I think it can improve, just not in this system. The system doesn't want you to improve. This would improve if he could do what Kyler can do. Just chuck it deep, but then do checkdowns. Just kind of keep it controlled. That's not what this offense is built on. It's not what it looks like. Right. This is not how it hums. And at the end of the day, we're just starting to realize how difficult it is for short quarterbacks.
Yep.
It's really difficult, and he's short. He's a shorter guy, smaller frame, 6'1", which is tall in life, but not tall in the NFL. And it just he's good at running around, but even when he runs around, he just throws the ball 100 miles an hour.
What is up with that?
It's his lack of touch, I think, that's been truly nerve-wracking to me. And for me, that's a sign of the game's too fast. He just wants to be athletic. He just wants to kind of do what he did in college, which is just be better than everybody. And it just ain't gonna work.
Yeah, at this point, the signature Caleb Williams play is everything broke down. He's out of the pocket, running to his right, and instead of like trying to throw some touch or even just throwing the ball away, he sprints towards the sideline, does like this Jeter throw where he jumps off his left foot and throws it as hard as he can.
1,000,000 miles an hour.
Like 10 feet above a receiver's head.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, what are we doing? I swear it happens like 5 times a game, this exact play.
There was he had one completion early in the season. We're like, I think it was in the first week of the year.
Yeah.
Where you're like, holy shit, look at that. That was a play. And now he's just like, I'm going to do that again. I'm going to do that again. And he hasn't done it since. So I've just, enough of Caleb Williams. Enough of it all. We're enough. And that's it. That's it. We got the 2 segments out of the way. Now, shall we get into the chats, my friend?
Let's do it, sir.
And if you're listening to the podcast and want to tune off, thank you guys for tuning in, tapping in. Make sure you rate, subscribe, all that stuff for the Player Profiler Network, all that good stuff. But I think you should stick around because even though these questions may not pertain to your teams, I think you can find some nuggets in here that help you out. So let's get to it. First one, Jeff in the chat, what's going on? Flex, Troy Franklin, Keyshawn Boutte, Kareem Hunt, full point PPR. And guys, this is why you stick around at the end of the show.
Tough one. I like all these guys are really close to my rankings right now, but I like Troy Franklin here. I think that the wide receiver 2 on whoever's going against Houston is kind of an interesting option, and the usage has been trending up a lot for Franklin recently. But man, I can really make a case for any of these 3 guys. So my stance might change by the weekend. We'll see.
Yeah, there are some developments in these matchups that could change things, but I think Kareem Hunt, we're looking at a touchdown merchant. Boutte is a deep ball merchant. I mean, Boutte's profile is the biggest sell high of all time, 30 targets, 23 receptions, I believe, so super efficient, 5 touchdowns. He's just nearly a 25% touchdown rate. It's astronomical.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? If it looks like Pacheco's probably going to miss this game, if he does, right now the Chiefs have like a 27-point implied total. That's way higher than the Broncos. So you should probably just start Kareem Hunt.
Joe H is 6-2. He's trying to shop A.J. Brown in Dynasty. What is a good asking price? He also has the Slim Reaper Devontae Smith, but he is untouchable. So he's going to shop A.J. What should he be looking for?
Oh, man. I am in this exact situation in one of my leagues. I have both A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. I've been trying to trade one of them for years at this point. But I never quite got what I wanted. And now the A.J. Brown Dynasty value, it's come down significantly, like a lot. You're not going to get what you think you deserve for a guy with the upside of A.J. Brown. Personally, I think A.J. Brown is just a hold at this point in Dynasty. You're going to struggle to get back something that you really want, especially if you're 6-2. That's not really the team I want to trade away A.J. Brown. What do you think?
I'm kind of along those same lines. Here's a name I will put out, though, Joe, that if it's working out this way in your league, here's the name I'm going after. I'm looking to trade A.J. Brown for Jaylin Waddle. Still,
I like that.
He's not necessarily as hyped up in the dynasty market right now, but he's got a great schedule rest of season, and he's been the number 1 pass catcher for the Dolphins. I think that's a deal that you could probably get done.
That's a great one. Yeah,
one of those rare ones where you both could be contending. There could be 2 contending teams. You take the Jaylin Waddle. They might be 6-2 as well. 7-1. They're okay with the A.J. Brown buy, but they think they're getting the higher upside because they probably are. But Jaylin Waddle's been good. Jaylen Waddle's still 27 years old, so he's not necessarily too old. So that's a move I'd be looking to make because I think any type. No, go ahead.
Could you get like Travis Hunter in a small plus or something like that? Maybe Ricky Pearsall in a small plus.
I'd be into something like that, but if you're 6-2, I kind of feel like that.
Don't get me wrong.
Fall in a certain
the Waddle call is the best for sure. because
I
he's
like
a
the
win
idea.
now. He's a win now guy, but he's also young. But I think that even on a contending team, it could be an interesting time to trade away AJ Brown and just get younger, just get a little bit more long term, both safety and upside in terms of dynasty value. And I think guys like Travis Hunter, Matthew Golden, Ricky Pearsall fall into that bucket too.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily need to be a win now trade.
Yeah, and if you're 6-2, you're doing things right despite AJ Brown. He hasn't been a
Right.
contributor as much to
Very
the 6-2
true.
Joe. So yeah, I think that's on the table. I mean, would you be happy with Jaylin Noel and Travis Hunter?
Jaylin Noel and Travis Hunter. Yeah, I'd do that.
That's something I think we could look back on and be like, yo, that was the perfect time to get out.
Mm-hmm.
Just traded Daniel Jones, Michael Pittman, and Stevenson for Lamar and Superflex. Grade the trade.
Well, when I hear Superflex, I always think Dynasty. This might be redraft. In Dynasty, it's a complete smash. It's not
Yep.
close. It's Lamar. In redraft, I doubt it's redraft just because it doesn't really make a ton of sense in redraft. What do you think? Redraft versus Dynasty?
I'm with you. I usually think the Superflex means Dynasty. In Dynasty, this is a smash. Getting a Lamar, getting a Josh Allen. It's the exact opposite about what we talked in the show. When we talked about selling the quarterback in regional, it's the exact opposite.
You do
getting
everything
a
you
guy
can.
like this, you do everything you can, and you patch the holes later. So I think this is an A in Dynasty. And even in redraft, I would have to look at your roster, tug drug fishing, tuggers. I'd have to look at your roster, but I would have to imagine, just based on the names and what I'm seeing, Stevenson will not make your lineup basically ever. Pittman is probably a surprise, but probably is a fringe starter. And Daniel Jones is probably your QB 2 or 3. So at this point,
Yeah, depending on your team, it could be a good trade. It could be maybe if in a deeper league, it would be a bad trade in redraft. But in Dynasty, it's an absolute stone cold smash.
for sure. All right, let's keep this thing going in the chat. A little overloaded at wide receiver. I love these humble brags. Keep them coming. JSN, Chase, Igbuka, Adunze, Pickens, Sutton. Yowzers.
Nice.
Weak at running back. Achan, White, Tracy, Hampton. What RBs could I target and who would you give up in an 8-man league?
Okay, that explains.
Makes sense.
That
But you
explains.
it's all about consolidation in an 8-man league. I'm keeping Chase. I'm keeping JSN. No way in hell am I trading any of those. But anyone after that, let's consolidate. Who could you put with Achan? I'm not trading him at this point, but could you trade Tracy, Hampton, and Odunze for the 2-6 JT team? Maybe the person that you're trying to make a trade with listened to this show. They're a team that stinks. They're looking to save their season. They want to go ahead and sell their Bijan, their Gibbs, their Jacobs, their Cooks. Go ahead and go get them. Just consolidate.
In an 8-man league, if you have any semblance of getting Christian McCaffrey or Jonathan Taylor without giving up JSN, Chase, or Achan, doesn't matter. Throw anything else in the deal.
Anything else?
Just get it done. Besides that, that might be tough to do. It's probably pretty tough to do. I would be looking at just the next tier down of running backs. We have Gibbs, Bijan, Cook, Javonte, Jacobs, Saquon, Henry, guys like that. You're going to have to what you think is an overpay, but in this league, it's not really an overpay. It's 8-man. So Odunze plus Hampton, or Odunze and Pickens, Egbuka and Odunze for one of those running backs. You got to do what you got to do.
And you're weak right now, but Tracy all of a sudden puts up 16 points this week. Hampton comes back, and you're off to the races. So
yeah, and if you can't get a deal done, it's also not the end of the world. You got a really good team.
yeah, I mean Chase and JSN.
Hampton's
please.
Hampton's gonna be awesome.
He's coming back. People. 3 wide receiver. So Allen. So I'm doing Keenan, Travis Hunter, Metcalf, Addison. 2 running backs. Henry, BJ Robinson, Cook, Jonathan Taylor, and 1 flex. Should I trade Henry and Allen for Amon-Ra St. Brown? So I'm assuming that's Keenan Allen and Derrick Henry for Amon-Ra St. Brown. That
my
would leave him
God.
with no running backs on the
I don't
bench.
care. I don't care. We already have Bijan, James Cook, and JT. Who cares about the bench? Let's go get Amon-Ra St. Brown. We're winning this league.
Oh, yeah, you go get Amon-Ra. And I think that's BJ Robinson. Is that Bijan Robinson or is that Brian Robinson?
I guess maybe.
No, it's no,
it's
no,
gotta be
no, no,
Bijan.
no, no, no. You're not right.
I'm not listening to
You're not
Brian
putting that in the.
Robinson.
Yeah, you don't give a
Yeah.
rat's ass. Yeah, so yeah,
Yeah.
you're making the trade. Go sharpen the sword. You could find some running backs on the bench later. They'll pop up, and you may not even need them. This is going to be a stacked roster. Or sell your Metcalf for, some of the guys. Bill, go sell Metcalf for Bill
Sure.
plus something else. Trade Henry for Allen and get Amon-Ra St. Brown and just laugh your way all the way to the bank.
Smash.
Trade Dowdle and Swift for D. Henry.
Ooh. Yeah, I'd do that. I've it does depend on the league. If it's a 14-man league with like deeper lineups, then maybe you don't want to do this. But in the majority of redraft leagues, I would say that Rico Dowdle is not a guy you want to be starting on a weekly basis, which means that he is close to worthless in the trade. Just how I view it. I want to get all the value into my starting lineup. DeAndre Swift, he's a fine starter, solid RB2, but Derrick Henry has that true upside, especially with Lamar coming back, to get back to smashing like he did last year.
Yeah, I'm gonna make this move, even if Chuba Hubbard was out rest of the season. I'm still moving Dowdle and Swift for D. Henry. Now that Lamar's on his way back, now that the Ravens see the path to the playoffs, they can turn this thing around. They're gonna go all for it. They're gonna go full speed ahead, and we're gonna see some massive Derrick Henry games. Mark my
Absolutely.
words. So yeah, I'm making this move here. I think this is trading two ponies for a horse or a king, as he is known. So yeah, make that move. Should I trade Marvin Harrison, Bill, Travis Hunter, and Brock Bowers to get Rome Odunze, Woody Marks, Tet, and Gadsden?
Okay, let's break this down. I'm going to assume
break it down.
redraft, almost definitely redraft. So Marvin Harrison for Roma Dunze,
Rome.
I'd rather have Rome easily.
Yep.
I'd rather have Woody Marks over Bill, but it is a little
Correct.
bit close. I'd definitely rather have Tet over Travis Hunter. That I love Travis, but it's not that close.
I was
in my
taking
opinion.
Tet. Yep.
And then I'd definitely rather have Bowers than Gadsden, but at the end of the day, Gadsden's still a top 8 tight end rest of the season minimum. So I think it's pretty easily the get side here with Rome, Woody, Tet, and Gadsden.
Amongst these positions, the one I am most likely and most excited to tear down in is tight end. So
Right.
absolutely the position I'm willing to lose when you parse it out the way we just did. So yeah, Ashton, make that trade. Trade Pollard for Daniel Jones. Already have Baker, but he hasn't been all that good.
I get it. I get it. I'm certainly not a Tony Pollard guy in redraft. I think he is essentially worthless. So if you got to do it, it's okay with me, but I don't like having two quarterbacks, especially when, in my opinion, Baker and Daniel Jones are basically in the same tier. So not the kind of trade that I like to make, but I definitely understand wanting to get rid of Pollard.
Yeah, in a vacuum, I'm going to say no. But with some context, you could talk me into it. If Pollard has
Sure.
fallen down to be your running back 5, and essentially you're just kind of using an expensive waiver or
Yeah.
a de facto
a good
fab
way to put
in the
it.
way of Pollard for Jones, that makes sense. Baker is on the bye, so you're getting exactly 0 points. You do need a second quarterback this week, so I'm not really opposed to it. And I think in a lot of redraft formats, Pollard's become such an afterthought. He's so tough to start, especially with Tajay Spears having that. So I think without the context, I can kind of visualize enough situations where I'm probably making the trade.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed.
Thoughts on Hampton rest of season? His personal opinion, he does not feel very confident in him, especially with how good Vidal looks. He was just offered Judkins for Hampton and Charbonnet. For a little bit more
Ooh.
context, he could also get JCM instead of Sharbs. It's up to him.
Interesting. I am not like a huge Judkins guy just because of how bad the offense is. I think there's a limited ceiling there, but Hampton's going to be out at least 2 more weeks, and it's possible it's 3 or even 4. We don't really know when he's going to be back. There hasn't been a whole lot of reporting on it. When he does get back, I expect him to be awesome, but I would say most of our teams can't really just wait around for him like that. I'm okay making this deal, even though I don't love Judkins. I think he clearly, I would clearly rather have Judkins over Hampton rest of season.
I might be in the minority here, but I do believe that Vidal becomes nothing when Hampton is back and ready to rock. So I don't care how good he looks. I think he's just doing an admirable job. Keeps him in the NFL. Maybe gets him another job. So I'm happy for him. But I'm not making this trade, and here's why. Hampton, even if he is 2 weeks away, Judkins is definitely 1 week away. He's on bye. So you can cut that down by
Good
one.
point. Good point.
And Judkins has been great. But Hampton is just a different level of player for me. He's just
got way more ceiling.
I just evaluate him so much highly, and I would just imagine, based on the context here, that you need the studs to win, and Judkins is good, but Judkins, he's getting 0 this week, and if that AC joint keeps him out 1 week, just one, you're already at equal playing field for health.
Yeah.
So I'm not looking to make that move. I'm not opposed to moving Hampton if you could get someone that is ready to play right now and isn't hurt. But if you're dead set on Judkins, like Judkins is your guy, Nino, and you just want him, would you give up JCM or Sharps with Hampton? So if he's just dead set on Judkins, doesn't care what we say, he wants Judkins, which of the two are you putting that deal?
I would put Sharps in the deal. I think Bill's got a lot more ceiling.
Agreed. Start May or Herbert?
Start May or Herbert. I think that's just going to be Drake May every time for me. Doesn't matter the matchup.
Yeah, and if you're not, I don't know how to say this. If it's not Superflex, which I'm assuming it's not, trade Herbert. See if you can trade Herbert.
Mm-hmm.
Start Woody Marks or Aaron Jones?
That's going to be Woody Marks, I believe. I'm checking my rankings, but I'm really low on that Vikings backfield going forward. Yeah, it's Woody Marks.
Yeah, Woody Marks all day long. So, yeah, you see your flex is a little bit struggling. See if you can move Herbert. He's got a little context. I love context. Herbert, May, Bijan, Chase Brown, Woody, Aaron Jones, Malik Neighbors. Yeah, pulling one out for the young buck. AJB, Sutton, Keon Coleman, Matthew Golden, Myers, Kraft, and Pitts. This team is the exact team that we talked about earlier. Liquidate the quarterback and tight end position. Trade Pitts, trade Herbert, get yourself some flex players.
Yeah, can we do let's say we're trading away Tucker Kraft and Justin Herbert. What kind of wide receiver can we get for that?
I would imagine you could probably get quite a bit. You could probably get a pretty damn good one.
Yeah, maybe Ladd or London, something like that.
Yeah, you might be able to shoot that high. I think that's possible.
Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle.
Ooh, those Chris Olave. Well, I kind of want to see Chris Olave now with the new quarterback. But yes, you could shoot high and really add a receiver to this room.
You got to try though. You absolutely have to go try to find a receiver. You don't need two good quarterbacks and two good tight ends.
It's a 10-man league, so even more so do this. Yes, liquidate those positions for sure. Just traded Barkley and Bill for JSN and Diggs. Was very running back heavy and wide receiver needy. Now it's reversed, so he's looking for a running back 3. Who's a good target for Debo and Diggs type of package? So he's looking to move Debo, maybe Diggs for a running back 3.
And Diggs for a running back 3. First of all, love the JSN trade.
Oh yeah, baby,
that one was awesome. Debo and Diggs. Can we maybe like shop in the DeAndre Swift, Breece Hall kind of range? Maybe a Bill Krosky Merritt. That might honestly be a little low because you are doing the 2-for-1 here. What do you think?
So for me, running back is so
Jalen Warren.
So this is what I'm doing. I'm taking whichever one has the more value. I'm moving them not for a comparable running back, but I'm gonna look down the rankings a little bit. Can I get Jalen Warren and Bashul Tutin? Does a team have these young guys you talked about targeting that we hope to kind of get into the role, get going? Can you get Tracy and Rico? I'm trying to get two guys that might not have the same sex appeal as what you can get in a straight up for your RB3. So the reason why I'm trying to do this is, you want a running back 3, so you still have 2 starters. But if you could turn that into a running back 3-4, now you're not only, solidified not only deep, but you got a roster, I think, that can sustain some issues. And running backs, as we know, can go awry, can go a little bit awry.
This is why you're the best.
Did you guys cover Jerome Ford and other possible trade assets in the NFL draft? No, we didn't. We talked about ways to save your season in fantasy, some October takeaways. But when we record next week, maybe we'll have some names to bring up briefly, see what kind of movement we have. So far,
I will say,
nothing fantasy relevant.
Yeah, I will say generally in terms of NFL trades that matter for fantasy, there's always going to be less than we expect. That's just kind of how
Always.
it goes every year.
Mm-hmm. May, he also, some more context here, Drake May and Daniel Jones. So, yeah, keep May, trade Jones, trade one of the receivers. I think you can get yourself a nice little bevy of backs, maybe even two.
Mm-hmm.
Pick up Benson for Spears. So who would you rather have rest of season, Trey Benson or Tajay Spears?
I'd rather have Trey Benson. I don't see a ton of upside with Tajay Spears. I want to avoid all Titans. So I'll take the Trey Benson, who when he comes back, good chance he's just in your lineup every week.
Yeah, Trey Benson's, he was labeled the league winner when James Conner went down. He went down. But that doesn't change the fact that he could be a league winner.
Right.
Michael Carter, Bam Knight, Amari DiMercado, none of these guys have been doing enough that's going to take anything away from him when he's ready to rock. So Trey Benson all day long. Is Kyren worth buying for a late 26th first, in your opinion?
Hey, man, that's the price. That's the price of a chip. Do I want to make this deal? No, I really don't. It feels gross to do it. But at the end of the day, this is probably the price. And if you want to win, you got to pay it.
1,000,000% worth paying this price. He's still a fantasy stud. Running back 13 on a points per game basis. He's still finding the end zone. He's still getting a ton of touches. And a late first.
Just got the extension, too. That's a big, that's a big point.
Yes, it got the extension. And on top of this, late first, they're so easy to trade now. It's going to suck next year in your rookie draft when you don't have a pick that you really want. But then when the late first round picks, more often than not, are a bit frustrating. I mean, if you did that this past year, who would you be looking at? Matthew Golden? Caleb Johnson?
Right, yeah. And it's also worth noting that the 26 draft, it's not looking like it's going to be the 23, 24, 25 drafts. Mm-hmm. It's supposed to be a down one.
Yeah.
You got to be okay paying this. It's the price of a chip.
I'll just say this. I wish my home league, this price was obtainable. It's not. The Kyren owner loves Kyren. Ain't trading Kyren.
Those casual dynasty leagues. Good luck getting running backs.
All right, we got a couple more questions, and we're going to sign off for tonight in a half-point PPR dynasty. What are you selling Neighbors for? Contending team in third.
Ooh.
This hurts me soul. I don't ever want to let go of my sweet, sweet prince, Malik. But if you were to shop him, you're shopping in the luxury aisle, right? You're looking top shelf liquor here.
Definitely. Man, maybe a down tier. I think that's probably what the idea is here. To a rebuilding team, maybe you could go after Nico Collins. It's not exactly what I want to do. Rashee Rice potentially.
That's the name.
McConkey.
That's the name. Rashee Rice is the name. Bingo winner, chicken dinner. That's the name. Someone on if the team that has Rice isn't winning, and it's possible. Maybe they were looking at them being, him being a big factor, obviously missing most of the season start. Maybe they're downtrodden. They're looking to get a guy like Malik who's awesome. Rashee Rice is the name. Rashee Rice is the guy I'm looking to do. I think that's the move.
Also, you could try to just go get one of the top 6 guys in Dynasty. You have Malik Neighbors. Can you add a second to get Puka? Can you add a second to get Bijan? These are deals that you might as well send out there because there's a chance you could get them done, especially if that other team's rebuilding.
I would, and here's the point overall when it comes to this type of trade. I'm okay adding to get the higher dynasty value because it'll hurt less next year when Malik's balling the F out.
Very true.
Need help? I'm in Dynasty 10-team PPR Superflex TEP. Had Kittle and Neighbors go down. Was offered Colston Loveland, Jaylin Warren, a mid-third for Gadsden. Thoughts?
Come on. That's a smash. What are we talking about? I love Gadsden.
Yes. Okay. So he's getting the package. Yes. If you're getting
He's
the
getting
package, that's a smash.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a smash.
I mean, I think I have Loveland still ranked. Yeah, he's right
Yeah.
around. Okay, he's below Gadsden in the ranks as he should be, but not by much. Like this is still a top 10 NFL draft pick. He's not even 22 years old yet. Don't panic. And we just talked about Jaylen Warren. He is a high end running back too. Rest of season. This is a stone cold smash.
Tight end, tier down tight end. That's how you accrue value. It's that easy. Would you trade London or Rome O for Chase Brown and Boutte? No.
Nah. I don't. I'm not interested in Booty in really any format unless I'm really desperate, and I wouldn't ever trade for him.
No.
And Chase Brown, we talked about him. He has had a little tick up, but he's not. He's not going to beat you. You're not going to lose to Chase Brown, and he's not going to turn your team into a championship winner either.
What? Let's just say Chase Brown and what receiver gets you in that realm to want to move a Rome or a London? Because this is you're trading a big dog. This is no small feat.
I'm not a Chase Brown guy, so maybe these receivers will be a little higher than yours. But my first thought was Travis Hunter.
That was my first. That was exactly what I'm thinking too. Yep.
On the same page, baby. Let's go. Ricky Pearsall. Yeah, just those two guys. We were talking about them all show, so let's just stick with those two.
Xavier Worthy.
Sure.
You got to go way up the receiver rankings for me to make this move. Because if Boutte turns into a pumpkin, or let's just say Patriots get Jacoby Myers, they just get another mouth to feed so that the efficiency numbers have to hit at that level. I mean, I don't think people realize the level of efficiency Boutte is operating with. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So I think at this point, you trade London or Rome for Chase Brown and Boutte. In a couple weeks, you're realizing you just traded London or Rome O for Brown straight up, and that's just it's not a deal you want to make. Last one, start Tet MHJ. So Marv, Tet, or Travis Hunter, who you starting?
Ooh, Marv does have a really good matchup this week against Dallas, so I think I'm gonna have to roll with him, even though I'm not a Marv guy, but. Let's see, where's Tet in the ranks? Oh shit, never mind. Tet's 10 spots higher, as he should be. The usage is way better for Tet compared to Marv when you just look at the analytics. So I think you got to trust that rather than the matchup, which we've been burned by a couple matchups recently, like that Bijan thing. Matchups can be a little bit overrated.
Look at the Dallas Cowboys last week. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys were supposed to be in a shootout last week. I know the matchup was tough in terms of the paper, but we were expecting points, and we didn't get nearly as many points as we had thought. So matchups can be finicky. And Tate does have a little bit of context for us. His running backs, Kenneth Walker, Bill, Mason, Hendo, Hampton, Spears. Does that swing it?
Definitely a really tough run out for that running back room. There's so much talent there. It hurts, but I still can't do it.
Yeah, I think in a few weeks, though, DT, we might be looking at JCM and Hendo being like, they're better or as good as Chase Brown.
Yeah,
we need to wait.
Maybe we go bargain bin shopping here, like I was talking about earlier. Some cheap short-term options for just the next couple of weeks. Kamani Vidal, Bam Knight, Bill Krosky, Merritt. Those guys can get you over until those running backs come back.
Yeah, I also say too, like with the receivers. I love the Nico, Rome, Pickens, London. I think that is where you're going to score a lot of your fantasy points. So to lose one, to maybe not get the true output out of running back, I don't think it's worth it. I think at this point, even too, you're going to put a little bit of hustle. See if one of these guys pop this week. See if you could cash in on Spears and Bill and upgrade that way. See if you can get move a Hendo in a Spears. See if you can consolidate your running back room. Or keep chasing kind of the cheaper options, like we said, Jaylen Warren. I know we said it once. We'll say it again. Get yourself a Jaylen Warren. I think this is the type of team that really gets cooking with a Jaylen Warren addition.
Absolutely. Don't panic with that running back room unless you're like 1-7. Then I get it. You need something this week, but that running back room is going to be just fine in a few weeks. Don't worry.
Yeah, and I can see the panic because you were assuming at least one to emerge as a consistent starter. It hasn't yet. but we're just a week away from
You'll
being
be
a
all
week
good.
away from it happening. So yeah, be a little patient, and you got the roster to kind of try some other avenues, but don't be selling those high end assets right now. And that's gonna do it. That's another episode of the Game Plan Fantasy Managers. Thank you so much for tuning in, tapping in. You can find me on X. I'm at Matty Kiwoom. But Evan, where can the people find you?
At Evan Ringler FF on Twitter, and then this YouTube channel, playerprofiler.com, and that's about it, peeps.
Yeah, make sure you're liking the video. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you're leaving a comment. Do all the good things to help us go and help get the algo, boost these numbers. Do it for your boys. But
And
first
check
foremost,
out Fast Drive code GAME.
yes, baby. Yeah. Good call. Check out Fast Draft. Fast Draft's awesome. It's honestly just something that you should do. It's fast. It's fun.
It's so
easy.
fun.
Yeah, use the code game. You help yourself there. So yeah, we'll make sure that we keep bringing the information, helping you guys get the edge, help you just absolutely dominate your idiot league mates, get those jabronis out of the way, help you win some championships. So folks, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tapping in. Like, subscribe, do all those things like I said, and keep game planning, my friends. We will see you next week. Peace.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.